Unreal Engine 5 demo. Do you want to give us the run through here? This is super exciting.
It's kind of long, actually. There's a bunch of stuff going on. I suggest you watch the video. I will
Oops.
say engine videos, unless you're watching them with somewhat of a trained eye, might not mean a ton, but it looks really nice, so might as well check it out. It's Epic Games released this footage, and it is specifically from it is an Unreal Engine 5 running on a PlayStation 5 console. That's the like important flex that's going on here. And this is very cool. I say this every time, and I'm going to say it again. This is very cool for console players as well, because, or sorry, for PC players as well, because the further consoles push, things will look better on PC.
Yep.
Even when like every time a new console comes out, they get really close or surpass the price point value that PCs are going to be at that time. But then over time, PCs supersede by a huge amount.
100%.
And games are just going to look better in general. So this is fantastic. I'm going to read directly from notes here for a second. Visualized micro polygon geometry. Oh, we've had a lot of fun word combinations in this WAN show so far, which allows developers to use film quality meshes as sources. And you can see in the demo, things do look very, very good, which with each comprising hundreds of millions of polygons. They talk about nanite scales, lots of ability to put huge amounts of polygons and tons of varied objects across the screen at the same time. Developers no longer need to bake details to normal maps in order to maximize detail. This better overall. Global illumination, they give some examples of that in the video as well. It allows fully dynamic multi-bounce lighting that immediately reacts to scene and light changes.
That lighting looks incredible. Can I just, I'm gonna let you finish, but really like, good. Wow.
Like, it looks really good. You want to demo it? You can.
I've got it up right now.
Okay.
Yeah. They're watching. They're watching.
Huzzah! The lighting demo is really cool. It can benefit from developers trying to improve their games as well as to make the final title more reactive to player inputs, which is great. Allows developers to iterate in real time without having to wait for light map bakes to finish, saving huge amounts of time. It probably does. This new technology is not a next-gen exclusive and will scale to work on a variety of both old and new platforms. Also cool, especially with the new Xbox thing that makes it so that you can buy a game and it's available on a variety of platforms. So if you're sticking with your current console for a little while and you buy these new games, when you move to your next the new games should look better on your current console, and when you move to the next console, you'll be able to keep your games. It's a nice little combination. But the spiciness, I kind of plowed through a lot of that to the spiciness. This is the fun part to discuss on the WAN show. They are claiming the new SSDs on the next-gen consoles will allow huge, complex, large-scale worlds that will be streamed into the machine in incredible detail without you really noticing things popping in the traditional way that you would.
Yeah.
And Sweeney said the storage architecture on PlayStation 5 is far ahead of anything you can buy on any PC for any amount of money right now. And It's great to see that sort of innovation that's going to help drive future PCs. And then this part, I was trying to cross-reference this quote, and I haven't watched this part of the video yet, but it says they're going to see this thing ship and realize, oh wow, M2 SSDs. I need to catch up with it. We have M2 SSD. Again, I haven't watched that part of the video, and I need to find that exact comment. And I've been trying to reference more comments about this on the internet since then, but. Yeah, the PS5 uses a PCIe 4.0 SSD that reaches speeds of 5.5 gigabytes per second.
I'm back.
What'd you get?
Sorry, I was gone. Hold on. First of all, I want to pull up the demo again for a second here, because this is just so mind-blowing. Okay, so you can see with the global illumination, so cool. To be clear, global illumination is not the same thing as ray tracing necessarily. So you can have light bounce without necessarily being photon by photon. But this is so cool. So they show this is the light source, and then basically everything else is lit by that light source, which is that hard light from the sun bouncing. That's how it works in the real world. I remember talking to Brandon about this for a while, or a while back when we were building our set at the office that's kind of set up like a condo. And I was like, Brandon, why can't we just have like a handful of lights set up, and then, you know, kind of like if I was just in my house, you could just kind of have those ones be the kind of the base lighting, and then we can just add as needed, but it's like kind of ready to go at any time. And he's like, well, the issue is that because we have no way of routing, you know, the power of the sun into our studio, unless you want to buy like, you know, 2,000-watt lights and point them through the windows so that they actually like bounce off the floor and walls and globally illuminate the place, you're just not going to get it. And you're going to end up with all kinds of other issues that I didn't care as much about, like, oh, you're going to, you know, the color of your floor is going to color the light and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, well, I mean, we're just looking for sort of like a baseline here. But anyway, that's how real lighting works. And that's why it looks so natural. And that's why it's so much work to recreate that effect with studio lighting, because you have to have this understanding of light and the way it bounces and the way that it interacts with things that, you know, I just never really thought about from a film perspective anyway, you know, a number of years ago when we were first talking about this. And so seeing it done this way, dynamically, in a demo that is actually running on what will be production hardware that you can buy for presumably console pricing in a couple of, you know, quarters here, is just mind-bending. With that said, you know, why does someone like Tim Sweeney, like how many billions of dollars is he worth? Like, why does he need to say stuff that's just like demonstrably false, you know? Like how fast is the storage of the PS5?
5.5 gigabytes per second.
5.5 gigabytes per second. All right. So there's a little video platform. You might have heard of it. It's called Floatplane. Yeah, there's a team working on that over there. Good people. You know, it's a little slow, but they're good people. They're nice people. You know. So over on that platform, there's this creator. He didn't have a beard before. He's got a beard now. The community is kind of divided on whether he should keep it. Decent enough guy though. He uploaded a video, really clickbaity title. I can't stand that about this guy. It's very frustrating. And the video is called "This is 50 times faster than your PC." Holy shit. And he's got this SSD that, according to Tim Sweeney, doesn't exist for any amount of money. And it's crazy because there he is. Hold on a second here. I can screen share with you guys. Look at this guy. Look at this beard. Look at this stupid face he makes in his thumbnail. It's awful. Got that question mark in there. So here's this guy, right? And he's holding it just like that. That's a thing that Tim Sweeney said is not real. Tested a lot. But like, it's so funny because there it is. Look, it's in his hand. Actually, no, that's a different one. That's a slower one. Look, he threw that one away, and that one's also faster than the one Tim Sweeney said doesn't exist. Isn't that weird? Like, why do they do this? You know, you've already got enough money to buy the earth and all the heavens. Why do you need to sell out to Sony to just say stuff that's just not true at all? Also, you know, that guy, I happen to actually know him pretty well. He dropped off in my house this a little while ago. This is an SSD that is not only as fast as the PlayStation 5's SSD, but is actually at 1,500 megabytes. Oh, excuse me, 15,000 megabytes a second, double the speed. And yet here it is. So that guy's got one. Okay, actually he's got two. I've got one right here. Here's another one. So that is three now. That is three PC SSDs that are faster for any amount of money. I didn't say they were cheap. Faster than the PlayStation 5 storage system. Look at that. What a funny thing. Would you look at that? Isn't that funny how that works?
They're saying 5.5 gigabytes per second read and typical 8 to 9 gigabytes per second compressed.
Okay. Still slower?
I'm just reiterating.
Anyway, to be very clear, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about with the Unreal 5 demo? Because I wanted to talk about the PlayStation 5 storage for sure.
Some people in the chat say, I know I blew through some of the earlier stuff. I just wanted to get to the controversial statement.
Yeah.
Someone said global illumination has existed in the past. Yes, it absolutely has.
Absolutely has.
This is a new global illumination solution.
Yes. I
probably should've-
remember, I mean, global illumination's been something that the gaming industry has been trying to conquer since, well, basically the gaming industry existed. NVIDIA thought their voxel-based global illumination was going to take off back with Maxwell. To my knowledge, that never really gained a ton of traction. Although I don't actually know how Unreal Engine 5 is doing it. So, yeah, I will. I would definitely need to get into some deeper dives into what exactly their implementation looks like. But with their voxel-based global illumination, if I recall correctly, NVIDIA was taking more complex objects and they were kind of having them bounce as though they were much simpler ones. They like these volumetric pixels. So yes, not new. Like ray tracing is new. Ray tracing is different, but global illumination is not new. It's just that that particular technique for it, running in real time at that level of detail with 8K textures on a PlayStation, right? That's crazy cool. Now, I spent a fair bit of time mocking Tim Sweeney's statement that the storage architecture in PlayStation 5 is far ahead of anything you can get in a PC for any amount of money. But that doesn't change that what he's saying there's a kernel of truth in the misleading statement. And the kernel of truth is that compared to any PC that you would buy like off the shelf, yes, it is faster. And compared to any mainstream PC, it is much faster and will be coming in at a price that is going to and at a volume that is going to change the way that game developers utilize storage. That's what he's trying to say, even if he ended up making a really stupid statement in order to say it.
$2,000 really fancy packed SSDs are not necessarily what most people are considering when they're building computers. And technically, we haven't been able to like fully see in action, as far as I know, the real capabilities, because he's talking about the architecture of the whole thing. So like interconnects between the RAM and the more long-term storage and everything else. But you're getting a little nuanced at that point, and we don't have enough data to pick at there, as far as I know.
I'm sorry, did you say $2,000? Because this is more than that.
How much is that one?
I can't find a US price for it. I'm not sure if it's strictly speaking available, but I found a US listing for it that was over 3,000 Australian dollars. I don't know exactly what the conversion is there though. Anyway, the point is, what he's trying to say, I think, is that by having so much faster storage on hand and knowing that they can count on having fast storage available on hand. And remember, none of this would be worth anything if Microsoft wasn't also putting very fast storage in the upcoming Xbox, even if it's not quite as fast. I mean, it's all kind of a measuring contest at that point anyway, because game developers, especially considering that they're both running the same CPU and GPU, are not going to be, foundationally designing their games differently if the PlayStation and the Xbox don't both have the ability to take advantage of it. And the PC too, now that PC storage is and has been quite a lot faster than consoles, which have been stuck with hard drives for the longest time. So this reliance on having this base functionality is going to change the way that they can handle things like, as Luke was mentioning earlier, textures. Instead of having that pop-in, being able to load, let's say, for example, many, many more different versions of an asset so that you can swap them out extremely quickly as you are moving towards them so that it's much less jarring. That's just one very rudimentary example of how you could do something like that if you can count on very high-speed storage. Another really cool thing that you could do if you can count on high-speed storage, not to mention a faster CPU, is you could actually start to design games with much, much faster load times. Because that's something that you're going to run into these days is you can have, I could put this in my computer and most of the games that I run would still have abominable load times. You want to know why?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Luke. It's because it's primarily, it's primarily CPU bottlenecked. On decompressing the game assets as you're firing up a game is primarily CPU bottlenecked because it's been all about compressing that data down as much as possible to deliver it over a network, for example, or to squeeze it onto a console hard drive so people can install as many games as they can on their 500 gig or 1 terabyte drives or whatever the case may be. And there has been no compelling reason to say, okay, well, you know what we should do then is we should unpack more of these assets, and then we should just stream them uncompressed while the player is playing, because there was no option to do that because the hard drive wasn't fast enough. So you had these two bottlenecks that were present. You had a CPU bottleneck anytime you needed to unpack something, and then you had a storage bottleneck if you decided, okay, you know what, to heck with it, I'm going to unpack it early and I'm just going to stream all the assets in. Well, you couldn't do it anyway because a modern 2.5-inch hard drive is still limited to 150 to 200 megabytes a second, best case scenario. So this is going to change the way that they can load assets into games. And I don't think that crediting Sony with changing the gaming industry here makes a ton of sense. And his statement that there is no SSD for any amount of money that's as fast as this is really stupid, because this is literally wired to the CPU. That's what it is. It is wired directly to the PCI Express bus on the CPU. And if you imagine for a second that Sony's CPU in the PlayStation is not just an AMD chip running PCI Express, then you're a fool. Like, that's all there is to it.
I'm gonna be that guy.
Do it. Do it.
I'm a little bit too.
Do it now.
I was probably wrong in the pre-show when I said I was loud, but apparently he doesn't technically say it's faster.
Far ahead. Okay. What does far ahead mean?
I don't know.
So if I were to say, look, let's just think for a second. If I were to say Usain Bolt is far ahead of the other competitors on the track, what does that mean? Okay.
But yeah.
If I were to say, for example, that I don't know any people who drive cars for a living, so I'm gonna go with Danica Patrick. That's the only one I'm familiar with. Okay. If I were to say that she was far ahead of the competition, what would that mean? Far ahead in endorsements? I
mean, he's probably far ahead in endorsements right now.
Yeah, I think he's doing all right.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see what it actually translates into. I don't suspect much. I don't suspect anyone's going to load up a PC and go, or a PS5 and go like, oh wow, how am I going to catch up with this? I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, me neither.
But I mean, hopefully it's there. Hopefully they make leaps and strides in terms of architecture. Yeah. And then if they do anything that's like really transformative with their memory architecture, hopefully it comes to PC.
Yeah. I mean, it may not be possible. I mean, there is an advantage to running your own operating system. I mean, we showed when we fired up our new One X storage server that just because you're running the same SSDs wired into the same PCI Express bus doesn't mean that you get the same error-free operation from one operating system to another one. So it is possible that Sony will be looking at a significant performance advantage with their implementation based on the software side of things. But I guess what I was mostly trying to say in my tongue-in-cheek way is that if they're 30% ahead, that's not going to result in a 30% difference in how these games are going to run on the PlayStation. Foundationally, everything is going solid state, which is going to be a huge advantage. But past that, we're going to be looking at a point of diminishing returns.
They talked about how they worked to remove any bottlenecks that current SSDs have, and like all this other kind of stuff, and that's fantastic, and I hope it works for them. But I'm on Linus's side with the overall. I don't know about the like, oh wow, how am I gonna catch up on PC? There's no way I could buy anything that's this good.
Meanwhile, Microsoft doesn't even consider them a competitor anymore. Sick burn.
What do you think? Way ahead of everything.
Yeah.
With minimal information. Xbox One X or PS5. Like, who do you think is going to win the war this time?
I think
it's
Sony,
relatively obvious that PlayStation won last time.
I think Sony goes in with the momentum on their side. Because I mean, yeah, we can talk about the SSD in the PlayStation 5 or the graphics card in the Xbox One Series X all day. But at the end of it all, what makes someone choose one console versus another one? Okay, I'm gonna put down three things, and I'm gonna see if you say the same three things. Okay, hold
I
on,
can
hold
see
on,
it
hold
there. I
on.
can
Don't
see it
do
there.
it
I can
yet.
see it there.
You can see it. How can you see it?
I covered it because I'm on the same dock as you.
Oh, okay. Don't look at it. Don't look at
I
it
covered
then.
it with my hand.
Okay, well, don't look at it. Okay.
Okay, I'm looking
I was
elsewhere.
like, wow, am I screen sharing right now? Because I'm looking at the OBS window. I'm not screen sharing right now. Are you magic? Are you magic? Okay, so you probably saw the first one, but you were going to say that anyway. So go ahead. Hit me. Hit me. What are your three items that determine which console you buy?
I said games/exclusives. I'm kind of
Yep.
bundling those as one thing.
Yep.
Bundles/price, which I'm also bundling as kind of one thing. Uh,
Mmm.
and then friends.
Okay. So I had exclusives, whatever your friend group buys. So we were overlapping on two of them. And then I actually had controller as a major determinant of which console you would prefer. Because there's so many games that are cross-platform now that I could see people choosing one or the other, assuming pricing and bundles are similar based on, well, I really prefer the Xbox or I really prefer the PlayStation controller. Bundles and price, that's another big one. So nowhere in any of that was who has the fastest, SSD, right?
Yeah.
That it's not in there because that's not why people buy game consoles at the end of the day. So I think that to me, exclusives is going to be the thing that puts the momentum in on Sony's side. Because if I played, the last oh man, I haven't owned a PlayStation since the PlayStation 2. Okay, sure, I played some Uncharted game or whatever. And I'm invested in this series now. I'm a PlayStation user. I think there's a strong chance I buy the new one.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I would agree with that. Someone in chat said the controllers are all good now. It's not really the point. And I
Yeah.
think the controllers have been all good for quite a while.
Yeah.
The controller thing, for me at least, it's all about the thumbstick positioning, and there's a huge difference between the two. And it doesn't matter that the PlayStation controller is good. For me, it's the positioning of the thumbsticks throws off the usability of the controller by a massive amount for me personally, because I'm so used to those offset thumbstick positions.
And so
It's like
that's
actually a pretty big deal for
it's
me.
not a fanboyism thing, but it is a muscle memory thing that makes a big difference as a gamer. Like, if you're used to a keyboard and mouse, or if you're used to inverted look, for example, if someone changes your control scheme and you are anything but a very entry level gamer, it's gonna muck you up. And so if you're used to the symmetrical thumbsticks, there is a chance that could be a determining factor for you to just say, okay, well, all other things being equal, I'm just get a PlayStation 5.
I got my Xbox controller to work on the PlayStation 4 when I was using the PlayStation 4
Of
because it was
course you
driving
did.
me so nuts. Yeah. But like the the average user isn't going to do that. It was actually a pretty fun project and it worked very well, but yeah, it's not going to be a normal thing.